Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. I see that our facilitator is here, so I can begin. Welcome everyone to the TIES 2021 Mindfulness Conference pre-event. I hope everyone is having a great morning so far. My name is Helen from AMB, and on behalf of TIES as well as AMB, we welcome you to the pre-conference workshop. I'll just start off with a very brief introduction on Miss Norita herself before we get started. And this workshop is one of 4 that we are providing for our attendees for just a happier and healthier lifestyle through the practice of mindfulness. Today, Miss Noriko Harth will begin this 3-day event. A little bit of background on Miss Noriko herself. She is a certified mindfulness-based stress reduction instructor, a certified mindful self-compassion instructor, as well as the managing director of the UC San Diego Center for Mindfulness. She's trained in MBSR under the direction of big names such as Beth Mulligan, Susan Woods, Shar Wilkins, Patricia Rockman, and Alan Goldstein, and trained in MSc under the direction of Christopher Germer, Kristen Neff, Michelle Becker, and Stephen Hickman. Miss Noriko was born in Noriko was born in Japan, and she moved to the States in 1985. And Noriko feels that her life-transforming journey of discovering and exploring mindfulness practices has allowed for a more balanced life and identity between these 2 varying cultures. She's a strong believer in practicing mindfulness and bringing its principles into her life, and feels that it has continued to help her grow as a person. She feels passionate about bringing these practices to other people's lives and believes it is her mission to share what she has learned and what she continues to learn to the community. And with this being said, I introduce to you Miss Noriko Morita Harth.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you so
Good
much for
morning.
joining.
Good morning, everyone. Um, I'm Noriko Harth, as Helen introduced me, and I just want to add to introduce myself, how I got to be here, how I learned mindfulness and continue to learn and teach, facilitate mindfulness programs. About 9 years ago, I was working at a different company, a different department within UCSD, and I was extremely stressed. Every day I was so stressed. I had hard time sleeping through the night. I was always having digestion issue. I was always anxious, worried. And my husband said that you gotta do something, because I was so stressed that when I come home, I couldn't even talk to my husband. I was just overwhelmingly stressed. So my husband said, you got to find something, some ways to manage your stress. And at that time, I was already doing yoga, riding my road bike, hiking. I was doing everything I could do to kind of release my stress, but it wasn't helping. And I started searching stress management. And that's when I found UCSD Center for Mindfulness. And they offer an 8-week program called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. And I signed up. Yeah, this will be really good for me. So during the 8-week course, I did a home practice diligently. I practiced every day. And I began to really see a different way to see myself and also perceive my stressors around me, people around me. I was able to start to build a different relationship with my own stress. And after an 8-week course, I wanted to continue because it was helping me to manage my stress. And I signed up for a mindful self-compassion program. Mindful self-compassion program is offered in an 8-week program format and in a 5-day intensive format. And I attended the 5-day intensive format of mindful self-compassion training. And during that 5-day intensive course, once again, I really explored how I was really hard on myself. I struggle with inner critic, perfectionist, and I also recognized how unhappy I was with myself, with what I was doing, And after I recognized how unhappy I was, I could not go back. I had to kind of move forward, and I really just kind of trusted what I learned from mindfulness program and mindful self-compassion program. And I thought, okay, I really want to start learning how to share this because it is helping me, manage my stress and manage my inner critic. So I went on to take the teacher training programs. And at the same time, I studied volunteering at the Center for Mindfulness. And after a couple of months, I um, I asked to work part time at the current at the work that I was doing, and then start more hours to volunteer at the Center for Mindfulness. But I was stressing out because although my time at the work was the same, even though I asked for part time, the work I was, responsible for, it did not decrease. So I was actually more stressed, and I decided that I actually it's time for me to leave what I was doing there. That was not something I wanted to pursue. And that was the timing that the Center for Mindfulness actually was looking for somebody to come on board with them as a project manager. And that's when I started working and also start teaching at the center. And that was back in November 2013. And I've been teaching since 2014. And I'm still, of course, at the center. I'm now a managing director. I went through all the certification programs and I'm certified. And I still, of course, would like to continue sharing what I have learned. So today I would like to share some practices and exercises from these programs, 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction and mindfulness self-compassion practice. So first I'd like to share my screen. Let's do that. So, so first, uh, let's talk about mindfulness. Some of you or many of you may have already done some type of mindfulness programs or mindfulness meditation practices. And there are many definitions of mindfulness, as you can see here. And I want to mention about this, the second one by John Kabat-Zinn. He is a developer of the mindfulness-based stress reduction in 1979. Mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. So we can all pay attention, right? We have the awareness. We can pay attention. We have some type of awareness already. But what might be challenging is this the part it says non-judgmentally. How often do we assess or judge our situations? Is this good? Is this bad? Is this right? Is this wrong? When we see things or when we hear things, we are unconsciously judging or assessing. Is this good? Is this right? Is this bad? Is this wrong? Yeah. So non-judgmentally could be challenging to many of us. That's what we practice. So mindfulness practice involves 5 senses: sense of hearing, sense of touch, sense of tasting, the smell, seeing. So let's just take a moment here and just put your hands together and just look at them. So using a sense of sight, just look at your hands, really focusing on your hands and noticing what you see. Beginning to rub your hands, using a sense of touch. What do you notice when you just rub your hands gently? Do you notice the warmth or the coolness of your hands, or softness of your hands, or maybe dryness or moisture? And now closing your eyes, placing your hand just relaxed in your lap, using a sense of hearing, noticing the sounds in your environment. What sounds are present? Gently open your eyes and just looking around where you are. And maybe gently resting your gaze on one area in front of you and noticing what you see, using a sense of sight. What do you see? So releasing your attention. So mindfulness practice is very simple. We just did the practice for those of you who may have not done any mindfulness practices before. It's very simple, but it's not sometimes easy because how many of you start to notice any thoughts coming up or wandering mind, thinking about things you need to do today? Unfortunately, I cannot see anybody, but I'm just um, assuming that some or many of you may have, you know, recognized there are thoughts coming up while we are paying attention to an object, maybe your hands or maybe a sound. Yeah, so it's a simple practice, but it might not be easy because of the thoughts always show up. The thoughts come up because of the condition and experiences that we are in. So mindfulness practice, as I said, involves five senses. And it's really, really important to practice. You can read about mindfulness, you can hear about mindfulness, but you actually have to practice to experience fully what mindfulness is. So it's like going to the restaurant. You go to the restaurant and you look at the menu, and nowadays, they list a list of ingredients, for the dish, for the plates that you're interested, and you can kind of guess what it might taste like as you review all the ingredients. But until you actually order the plate and then taste it, you're not fully really experiencing. You're not fully really understanding what the taste is like. So mindfulness practice is exactly like that. You cannot really learn mindfulness until you practice, until you actually experience what it is in the present moment. So benefits of mindfulness, there is a lot. So these benefits are have been reported after the 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction. Some people found that they decreased the mind wandering, increased focus, improved concentration, also improved mood and well-being. Yeah, there's a lot here. For me, it was reduced anxiety, also concentration, also sleeping. The quality also increased. I still wake up middle of the night I think that's my habit. I don't know what it is, but I always just wake up 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and that's thinking about work, things I need to do. Um, but that's normal actually. I'm gonna talk about this wandering mind a little later, but mind wanders when we perceive the situations we are in is not danger. So middle of the night, I'm in a safe place. So mind wanders, starts to wander. But what I can do is to really recognize the mind wandering. And I actually practice the body scan, which I'm going to introduce you next. Yeah. Paying attention to my body parts and just being and noticing what's present. And I don't practice in order for me to fall asleep, but actually fall asleep after like 10 minutes or so. And there are also many research done. For those of you who are interested in the research, please just try and mindfulness research. You'll you find just a list of research done, especially for mindfulness-based stress reduction. And this is really just one of them. And then this was done in 2016. Targeted audience was 342 people, 20 to 70 years old. A randomized clinical trial study. It was published in JAMA, March 2016, if you're interested in searching. What they found, as you can see, uh, um, after the 8-week MBSR, meaningful improvement in functioning. And this was targeted for people with chronic pain, lower back pain. What they reported was increased the improvement in pain bothersome. The pain is still there. They're not saying that their pain, it's a chronic pain. So their pain is still there, but the relationship with their pain has changed. It's not bothering them so much anymore. So isn't it interesting? And there's other research, increased brain benefits of mindfulness, increased gray matter density in the brain, increased focus, improved emotional regulation, improved social cognition. And it goes on, reduce amygdala density in activity, reduce fight, flight, and freeze reactivity, and also quicker recovery from stress. And I can really relate to this. I used to have the fight, flight, freeze reaction to the stressful situation. I can actually pause, take a breath, a couple of times, the deep breath, that actually activates the parasympathetic nervous system. So it brings me to a quicker recovery from the stress situation. Increase anterior cingulate medial prefrontal cortex, reduce anxiety. So there are many research done. For those of you who are interested, I invite you to just search on the Google. So let's practice. I'm gonna stop the sharing and I'll come back to the PowerPoints a little later. So let's practice together once again. I'd like you to find just a comfortable either sitting or a standing posture. And I'm gonna actually stand up. I'm gonna lead you through a short mindfulness movement practice and body scan practice. So if you can stand up, I'd like you to stand up or you can continue sitting. And you can close your eyes or lower your gaze. and bringing your full attention to the soles of the feet. And noticing what's present. You can wiggle your toes, lift your heels. You can gently shift your weight to the left and to the right. Noticing any sensations in the soles of the feet as you move. Coming back to stillness. And now beginning to feel the breath in the body. And let's take a few long and deep breaths. So deep breath in and deep breath out. And coming back to the natural rhythm of breathing. And now with the next in breath, gently bringing your shoulders up to the ears and rolling the shoulders back and down as you breathe out. Once again, shoulders up and back and down as you breathe out. So, a couple times at your own pace, gently bringing the shoulders up as you breathe in, shoulders down as you breathe out. And noticing the sensations all around the shoulders, maybe noticing the tightness. And you can do this in opposite directions. So, shoulders back and up as you breathe in, and shoulders in and down. Couple times at your own pace. Coming back to stillness, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing your hands and arms by your side, and just checking in with the breath, noticing what's present. And now, with the next in breath, bringing the arms up over the head. And stretching the right arm up, and then stretching the left arm up. And you can do this on your own, couple times at your own pace, and really noticing the stretch around the side of the body as you bring your left arm up and stretch, and the right arm up and stretching. And coming back to the center. And now gently holding your left wrist with your right hand. And bringing the left hand over to the right side of the body. So noticing the stretch around the left side of the body. And remain breathing. Coming back to the center. And holding your right wrist with your left hand. And bringing the right hand over to the left side of the body. And noticing the stretch around the right side of the body. And remain breathing. And coming back to the center. And breathing in. And as you breathe out, bringing the arms down by your side. And just checking in with the breath. Just noticing what's present. You might notice a wandering mind. There might be thoughts coming up, and that's okay. You can simply notice that your mind has wandered to a thought. And see if you can bring your full attention back to the body, perhaps back to the breath. Now we're going to bring our attention to our neck and the shoulders. And slowly beginning to roll the neck, making a little circle with your head. Noticing any tightness all around the neck, any sensations. Also opposite direction. And bringing the head back to the center. Just checking in with the breath. And now slowly bringing the head down, looking down. Noticing the stretch around the back of your neck. Now slowly bringing the head back, looking up. Noticing the stretch around the front of your neck. Coming back to the center. And now bringing the right ear to the right shoulder. And you can stay right here, or if you like, you can move your head gently, just back and forth, really noticing the stretch around the left side of the neck. Coming back to the center. And now bringing the left ear to the left shoulder. Once again, you can stay right here, or if you like, you can move your head gently back and forth. And bringing the head back to the center. And checking in with the breath, noticing what's present. Noticing what's present in your mind, in your body. And you can continue to be standing up if you're standing, Or if you like to take a seat, or you can also lie down for a short body scan practice. So I'd like to invite you to find a comfortable posture. Please make yourself as comfortable as you can. If it's available for you, you're welcome to lie down. And as you settle into the posture you have chosen, lowering your gaze or closing your eyes, and beginning to notice the breath in your body in this moment. And let's take 3 long and deep breaths. And returning to the natural rhythm of breathing. And really noticing how your body feels in this moment. Just get a general sense of your body. Shifting your attention to the toes, both left and right, the big toes, little toes, all the toes in between. And noticing what's present here. Are there any sensations there or no sensations? You can simply notice that there are no sensations. Noticing the heels, perhaps touching the floor, size of the feet, soles of the feet, bringing your curious and kind attention to your entire feet and noticing what's present here. And now shifting your attention to the lower legs, ankles, calves, shins, knees, noticing what's present here. And moving up to the thighs, back of the thighs, inside the thighs, perhaps muscles and bones and skin. And you might also notice some body parts might bring up some memories. If you like, you can simply recognize these memories as thoughts. But if there are emotions associated with the memories, and if you begin to notice that your experience is becoming too overwhelming, perhaps with the difficult emotions coming up with the memories, You can always open your eyes, perhaps adjust your posture, or you can shift your attention intentionally back to the breath and feel the breath. But if you feel safe enough, even if it's a little uncomfortable to pay attention, I invite you to bring a kind attention to the body parts. And now moving up to the hips, buttocks, and pelvic area. And noticing what's present here. And now bringing your attention to the lower back, middle back, and the upper back. Perhaps noticing the gentle movement in the upper back as you breathe. Now coming around to the front of the body, belly, organs inside the abdomen. Noticing what's present here. Sometimes when we have discomfort or pain, we tend to pay attention. But if there are no pains or discomfort, we sometimes just forget about them. So why not intentionally bringing a kind attention to the body parts and just exploring what's present? Awareness of the stomach area, chest area, lungs and heart, lungs and heart breathing, rising and falling of the chest from breathing. And now shifting your attention to the fingers and the hands. You might notice the subtle sensations in the fingers or the hands. Perhaps noticing the moisture or dryness in the hands. So you might notice that your mind is wandering again. No problem, because that's what mind does. Our mind wanders. So when you notice that your mind has wandered, you can simply recognize without judging and coming back to the body, the sensations in the body. Now, awareness of the arms, the wrists, forearms, elbows, upper arms. And now bringing the focus of your attention to the shoulders and the neck. Some of us might hold a lot of stress, a lot of tension around the shoulders. What do you notice here? And now bringing your attention to the face, all the parts on the face. Now sides of the head, including ears. And back of the head, perhaps pressing the floor if you're lying down. And top of the head. And now bringing your attention from top of the head all the way down to the toes. And returning to the breath. Noticing the gentle movement of the breath. And noticing how your body is feeling. And noticing how you are feeling in this moment. And see if you can allow yourself to simply rest here with the awareness of the breath and the stillness of the body. Open your eyes. And you're welcome to stretch a little bit. And if you're lying down, you're welcome to stay there, or you can bring yourself up to a seated position. And I'd like to open up just to hear, what you noticed during the short movement practice and body scan practice. If you can, you're welcome to unmute yourself and share your experiences. Or you can also type in the chat. And thank you. I see, is it, let's see, Marcela. Yeah, thank you. I have studied, applied, and taught about mindfulness since 2015. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, thank you. But yeah, I'm curious to find out what you noticed during this practice. So if you can um, either add your comments in the chat or unmute yourself, or you can maybe raise your, I guess maybe you can raise your hand and I can unmute you. Irene, thank you. Yeah, feel calm and sleepy. Thank you, Irene. Anybody else? Wendy, yeah, I wish I could start every day this way. Ah, yeah, I wonder, so Wendy, if you don't mind just sharing, just, what do you mean, like, wish I could start every day? What do you notice that you wish you had this? Yeah. And Yefiru, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name well, feels comfortable. Thank you. Anybody else? Any challenges? Oh, yeah. Thank you, Wendy. I'm much more relaxed, feel refreshed, and less stressed. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yes, it is nice to start the day like this. Yeah, just take a moment. Share and slow things down. Yes. Jessica, yes, I will practice every day. Really good. Oh, that's wonderful. Juanito, how can we help those with past traumatic memories that have difficulties in focusing, getting best results from mindfulness? This is a big topic, so I cannot like answer in during this workshop because the traumatic memories, it'll probably show up, especially the body scan practice, and you might have noticed that I mentioned that the memories might come up, associated with the body parts. And the memories itself, we can share that those are thoughts. However, when there are emotions associated with the memories, they're sticky. And when that happens, we can do two things. If the participant um, or your client is not comfortable with the experience, but if they feel safe enough to stay with the experience, they can continue practicing. If they express that this is too much, I'm getting, really, I'm feeling difficult emotion, I'm getting anxiety, I feel fear, then that's the, and if that's the case, you can direct them to pay attention to something else, perhaps to the breath or the fingers, the soles of the feet, more neutral place where they don't bring the memories or sensations. What we are trying to do is to build a different relationship with the body parts, even if they might bring the memories. If we can recognize these are memories, we can kind of separate with the experience of what it is, also the memories coming up with the experience. So, um, so that's all I can say right now because it is a big topic, and thank you for bringing that up, Juanito. Christian, thank you. Great exercise is really relaxing. I will start doing it every day. Thank you, Juanito. Helen, a question. How can we differentiate, prevent self-pity when learning self-compassion? So we are not there yet, Helen. I'm going to talk about the self-compassion later. So we'll wait for that. But thank you for the question. Uh, and the event host, it's also understanding our inner self and spirit with mindfulness. Thank you. So, Michelle, I have a constant tingling in the back of my head. When doing the body scan, my mind constantly wants to go back to that spot, and I have to repeatedly bring it back to the body part I'm supposed to be on that at each moment. So that's the practice. That what you did was the exactly the mindfulness practice. You notice the tingling, but intentionally bringing your attention back to the object you're attending to. And you can continue doing that. That's one way to practice mindfulness, especially in the body scan. But sometimes it is, of course, okay to actually pay attention to the part that, the tingling in the back of your head and exploring and staying with the sensations of tingling, even if it's uncomfortable, allowing things as they are. That's also the practice. So thank you for sharing that, Michelle. Yeah. And it is not easy. Yeah. I can see that you are repeatedly, you had to repeatedly bring it back to body part. That's why we call it practice. We intentionally bring our attention back to the object. But thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for those of you who shared. Um, Vanito, thank you. The exercise truly helpful brings the power of now and present moment to full awareness. Thank you. Thank you for your comment. So I'd like to move on with, let's see, I'd like to share my screen again to talk about the wandering mind. And I can't see your faces, but I wonder, if you have noticed the wandering mind during the practice we just did. I wonder how many of you have experienced the wandering mind. I assume probably many or everyone, because that's what mind does. Our mind wanders. So it is okay that our mind wanders, especially during the practice. The important thing is to notice our wandering mind and intentionally bring our attention back to the moment, back to the experience. So, wandering mind, so our mind wanders. And the researcher, Matt Killingsworth, you can also search Matt Killingsworth. He did a study in 2000, I believe it was 2010, using an iPhone app to measure wandering mind. He and his colleagues asked over 2,000 volunteers to install this iPhone app. And what this app did was to randomly send a text message with questions to these people throughout the day. And what they asked in the text message, it says, "What are you doing? Are you aware of what you're doing? And how happy are you right now?" What they found after this study was that about 50%, 46.7 or 8%, so almost 50% of the time, people said their mind was wandering. So if you are, let's say, 30 years old, your mind may have been wandering about 15 years. So that's a long time our mind wanders. So it's a common humanity, experience. Our mind wanders. And there's another research done in 2001 and also 11. There was a researcher found a brain function called default mode network. And what this network does is to, when our brain perceives the situations we are in is not in danger, this network gets activated. And what it does is to scan our brain and look for things to worry about, anticipate, and ruminate over, or try to solve problems, fix things. So this is what the default mode network does. So just imagine that, you wake up in the middle of the night like I do. We are in a safe place. Our default mode network kicks in, scan our brain, and things to worry about. So this is very natural things because that's what brain does. And the good thing, another research found in 2011 and also 2012, is that with mindfulness practice, we can actually turn off this switch of default mode network, not just during the practice, but also during the day, off the mat, you know, outside of the practice. So we often sometimes get lost in thoughts during the day, worrying about things. I sometimes also experience when I take a shower, um, I forget because I start thinking about the things I need to do, worrying about still. And I forget if I wash my hair, after conditioning or not. That's what happens. But anyway, So default mode network and wandering mind is a very common experience during the practice. So it is okay for you to experience this, especially during the practice, mindfulness practice. But what's important is that noticing the wandering mind, right? Just recognizing, oh, the default mode network is kicking in because I'm noticing that I'm ruminating over what happened yesterday. And then intentionally bringing your attention back to the moment of the practice. So I'd like to, let me just stop the sharing. I'm just checking the comments here. Um, yes, yeah, Sharon is kind of acknowledging, yes, the wandering mind. If yes, Daniela, thank you for this body scan. I just made a mindfulness course, but this meditation was way much better. Thank you so much. Oh, okay, thank you. Right. And I'm also noticing there are probably questions. I'm gonna check this at the end of the course if it's okay with you. I really wanna like I said, mindfulness practice is really important uh, to experience, to fully understand what mindfulness is. And this applies to self-compassion practice as well. So I really want to share the practice and exercise today. And then at the end, I can answer to the questions, if that's okay with you all. So let's move on to a self-compassion practice. And I'd like to first go through this exercise. And I'm going to share my screen again. How do you treat your friend? So this is a writing exercise. So if you can, I hope you have a pen, pencil, and paper uh, ready. And if not, you can also maybe type in. You can open up a Word or something to type or write on. And as you're ready, I'd like to invite you to close your eyes. And just taking a few easy breaths. And now, please think of a time or various times when you had a close friend who was suffering in some way, going through a very difficult time. And for this exercise, please do not choose your partner or a family member because they're sometimes too close. So please choose your friend or colleague that you really care about. And this friend or colleague is really struggling. For example, maybe your friend had a misfortune or failed or felt inadequate. How do you typically respond to your friend in such situations? What do you say? How's your, what's tone of your voice? What is the tone of your voice when you talk to your friend? And how's your posture? Any non-verbal gestures? So please write down How do you typically respond to your friend or your colleague when they're going through a very difficult time? Maybe just another minute or so to wrap up your writing. Okay, so I'd like to ask you a second question. So you can close your eyes gently once again. Now, please think about various times when you were suffering in some way. Maybe you had a misfortune, you failed, or you felt inadequate. How do you typically respond to yourself in these situations? What do you say to yourself? What kind of thoughts coming up for you? What tone of your voice do you use? Any non-verbal gestures, your posture? How's your body responding to the situation? So when you're ready, please open your eyes and please write down what you discovered. And also, you might want to also consider, do you notice any patterns of differences, a difference in how you respond to yourself and others? For instance, in how permanent or catastrophic the problem is. And we're going to wrap up in about a minute for writing. So please wrap up your writing. And I'd like to hear what you discovered for these two questions. How do you typically respond to your friends? And how do you typically respond to yourself in a difficult situations? So once again, I see Michelle raising a hand. Thank you. Is it okay to, I hope you want to share for these questions. If I'm sorry if I missed you earlier, but I'm just gonna allow you to talk. If not, you can ignore or you can type in the chat.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Michelle, please go ahead.
Yes.
Like,
I mean, I'm typically, with other people, I extend compassion and, I think, whatever they're going through, I hope they pull through, and I'm sure they'll find the inner strength, and I hope they'll find the inner strength. And if I can, I, try to do whatever I can to help them get to the other side if it's possible, or just verbally always reassuring. But with myself, I think, well, it's my job to like tough love, to give myself tough love to pull myself out of it. I mean, through my mindfulness practice, I'm learning that that's not probably the best approach, but it's still what I default to.
yeah. So it is different, right? It is different response.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like, well, if no one um if no one is going to like, I have to be the one who sort of pulls myself out of this, and really the only way to do it is to just, be really hard on yourself and say, no, you have, this isn't acceptable. You have to, whatever the challenge is if I'm having, difficulty, uh, getting out of the house, or whatever the challenge is, I think, no, you have to, you know, you just have to get it together.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you very
Right.
much.
Yeah.
The intention is the same. You want to help yourself. That's why you're pushing yourself. But sometimes for your friend, you might not push that hard. You might just actually, there for them and just be there for them without asking them to do something about it. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, it's different. So thank you, Michelle. And I see a few people, let's see. Oh, nobody's made other comment. Oh, Louise, let me do that. Allow to talk. Thank you. Let's see. Louise, go ahead.
Madam, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, maybe you want to speak a little bit louder.
Okay, my name is Luis. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can. Please go ahead.
Yeah, it's a very useful exercise because many a times when you don't empathize, put you imagine the thing is in your it's happening to you. Let's say, like you said, your friend is in trouble, and then later on you in trouble. Normally, you see, we don't think of situations like that. But if you think like that now, it makes helping people very easy. You understand? Because it can happen to you. And so when you think like that, you become more helpful. So that is what I learned from the exercise. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Louise. Thank you. And I wonder how everyone, felt different in the body, how did you feel when you're hearing the words to yourself when you're going through difficult times, or when you're offering the words to your friends? I wonder how you felt a little different. So this is just a question for you to kind of you know um, explore as well. So I'm gonna share my screen again. Oh, is anybody else? Luis, did you wanna share again? I see your hand up. If you are, you're welcome to unmute yourself. If not, just let me know. Okay, we'll move on. So let me share my screen again. So the definition of self-compassion. Let me see. I hope I didn't skip anything here. Okay, so informal definition of compassion. Oh, I don't want to show this one yet. Informal definition of compassion is that meeting failure with kindness, not criticism. And also willingness to learn from mistakes, recognition that challenges happen to everyone. So self-compassion, the compassion is the wish for all beings may be free from suffering. And there's a little difference between the compassion and empathy. Empathy is the beginning of compassion. Empathy is that the resonance, the emotional resonance. When somebody's in pain, I feel your pain. But compassion would say, I hold your pain. May you be free from pain and suffering. In compassion, there is a deep wish and desire to alleviate the pain. And there's an action component. And there's another informal definition of self-compassion, treating ourselves with the same kindness as we would treat a friend when things go wrong. Or treating ourselves as we would like others, friends or family, to treat us. So if you could look at what you have written for the question, how you treat your friend or colleague, if you could just take a look at that again, just noticing, what's there, the words you're using, or the feeling that might be coming up when you're talking to your friends, or gestures, posture, your body awareness. The mindful self-compassion, what you see in the response to your friend, that's the component of compassion. And if you can turn that towards yourself, that's self-compassion. So what is self-compassion? When things go wrong, how many of us judge ourselves? We beat ourselves up. Like Michelle said, you gotta do something. Why did you do this? Why did this happen to me? I gotta do something about it. So self-judgment comes in so quickly for many of us. But for friend, you just want to tell them you're there for them. Treating ourselves with kindness and care and understanding and support, just as we would treat a good friend. Most of us treat themselves more harshly, saying cruel things to ourselves they would never say to others. So compassion, as I said, includes the wish and effort to alleviate suffering. So there's an action component to self-compassion. It involves actively comforting, protecting ourselves when we are in pain. Another component of self-compassion, according to Kristin Neff, common humanity versus isolation. When things go wrong in our lives, how many of us feel so isolated? Oh my God, this must be, you know, the things that I'm the only one who might be experiencing this. Yeah, I feel, so alone. Like I remember, I felt so alone when I made a big mistake at work. Oh my God, I just wanted to kind of close, hide out, isolation. But if we could really just kind of step back and open our eyes, have a bigger perspective to ourselves and as a human, we all make mistakes. And also seeing our imperfections as part of the larger human experience. We recognize that everyone suffers. When we struggle or something has gone wrong, that this shouldn't be happening, this creates a feeling of abnormality. I am wrong. There is something wrong with me. But this leads to shame and isolation. So with self-compassion, we recognize we are just a human, common humanity. I'm not alone. Third component, mindfulness versus over-identification. When things go wrong in our lives, sometimes we dramatize our situations. Oh my gosh, What if we can just know that we are suffering while we are suffering? Mindfulness allows us to turn toward painful feelings and situations and be with them as they are without trying to change the situation or without the wish to change our situations. So mindfulness is a balanced state of awareness. We don't suppress it. We don't suppress our feelings or emotions or avoid the situations. Or we're not trying to carry away by the dramatic storyline of what's happening. And there's also yin and yang self-compassion, the yin and yang self-compassion. Most people assume, and this was true to me, I thought that self-compassion is more like a gentleness, tenderness, the warmth, you know, the yang quality of compassion, which I didn't think I had. So I didn't think that I could get this, the compassion piece within ourselves. But there is a yang self-compassion. It has the quality of strength, courage, protection. For example, firefighters, when they endanger their own lives to protect the lives of others, and parents, may struggle to put food on the table, even working multiple jobs. That's also compassion, the strength to provide, strength and courage to protect. We can have fierce compassion. So fierce compassion could be something like refusing to continue using an addictive substance despite severe withdrawal symptoms, or standing up to an abusive, um, you know, boss, or maybe parents, your partners, situations. Standing up, the courage to stand up, to protect yourself. That's also compassion, fierce compassion. So to be fully self-compassionate, we need both yin and yang compassion. So the yin of self-compassion contains the attributes of being with our pain in a tender way, comforting, reassuring, validating. A yang self-compassion is associated with acting in the world in a fierce way, protecting, providing, and motivating ourselves. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I just skipped my. I just realized that I skipped the embodying the yin and yang compassion. I just explained, and now I'd like to guide you through a practice to actually feel what it is to feel like this compassion for yourself. It is difficult. It's not an easy thing to feel. We might understand, and it was really true to me. I understood how it would be wonderful to be kind to myself because I struggle so much with inner critic and perfectionism. I understood in my head, but it was hard to feel it because I didn't know how it feels to be compassionate to myself. So it does need practice, but the practice I'm going to guide you through is really to invite you to kind of open the door, doorway to find a way to kind of connect to yourself with a self-passion experience. So please find a comfortable and supportive posture. And if you can lie down, you're welcome to lie down. Nobody's really watching you. So you're welcome to just relax, uh, sitting comfortably or lying down comfortably. And allowing your eyes to close, either partially or fully. And let's take a few long and deep breaths. And returning to the natural rhythm of breathing. And now, please put your hands gently together, press each other together, and gently begin to rub your hands. Just noticing how this feels in your body. You might actually not notice anything, just you might notice the sensations in your hands, but this might not be, giving you any special feeling in your body, and that's okay. Simply noticing how this feels in your body. And now placing one hand over the cheek and noticing how this feels. You might actually feel the gentle pressure of your hand or the warmth of your hand. You might actually feel comforted with this gesture. Or you might actually not Notice anything at all, nothing special. Well, this might not be actually comfortable to some people. What we are trying to do is for you to find a supportive or soothing touch with your hand. So another hand over the cheek, cupping your hand with your hands, noticing how this feels in your body. And now releasing your hands and gently crossing your hands and beginning to kind of stroke your upper arms gently and giving yourself a little squeeze. And noticing how this feels in your body. Is this comforting? Is this soothing? Or nothing special, maybe neutral or not soothing? And now releasing your hands, placing one hand over the heart, another hand over the belly, feeling the gentle pressure of your hands, noticing how this feels in your body. And now both hands over the heart. How does this feel in your body? Is it soothing? Or do you feel supported? Or nothing special? Or this is not comfortable? For some people, this is not comfortable. So it's okay to recognize that. Now, both hands over the belly. How about this one? What do you notice in your body? Just simply resting your hands in your lap, taking a few easy breaths. I'm going to go right into the next practice. And once again, let's take a few long and relaxing breaths. And continuing to have your eyes closed, if that's okay with you. If not, you can maybe have your eyes partially open. Now, please think of a situation in your life that is difficult, that's causing you stress right now. So, this could be a health problem or work problem, relationship problem, or perhaps someone disrespected you because of your age or your ability or identity. So please choose a problem in the mild to moderate range, not a big problem. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves as we are just learning the skill of self compassion. Allowing yourself to see, hear, and feel your way into the problem to the extent that you experience some uneasiness in your body. Where do you feel it the most? Where do you feel that uneasiness? See if you can make contact with the discomfort that you feel in your body. And then say to yourself slowly and clearly, this is a moment of suffering. This is stress. This is hard. So that's mindfulness, really recognizing what's here, acknowledging what's present. This is stress. This is hard. Next, please say to yourself again, slowly and clearly, suffering is a part of life, part of living. And that's common humanity. I am not alone. Others may be feeling this way if they are in my situations. I'm not alone. And now, placing your hand or hands over your heart or wherever it feels supportive, or feeling the warmth of your hands or gentle pressure of your hands. And say to yourself, may I be kind to myself. May I give myself what I need. So that's self-kindness. So perhaps asking yourself what quality of self-compassion you need right now. Is it yin or yang? So yin quality could be, may I accept myself just as I am? Or may I care for myself tenderly? Yang compassion might say, may I have the courage and strength to make a change. I will not allow myself to be harmed in this way. And if you are having difficulty finding the right words, see if you can imagine that your dear friend or loved one is having a similar or same problem as you. What would you say to this person, heart to heart? If your friend were to hold just a few of your words in her mind, what would you like them to be? What message would you like to deliver? Now, can you offer the same message to yourself? Now, slowly, excuse me, slowly open your eyes. And once again, I'd like to invite anyone to share your experience. So the first practice was to find your supportive or soothing touch. Where do you feel, you soothe or comforted with your hands? Because you can do that with your hands. And the second practice is called self-compassion break. When you are aware that you are struggling in the moment of stress, can you offer yourself the soothing or supportive touch? And also any word or phrase that you need to hear in that moment. So anything you'd like to share, you can either raise your hand or maybe uh, share in the chat. Yes, Marcel, I feel that if I have compassion for myself, it's easier to feel compassion for others. Yeah, empathy is what we need the most in these times. Yes, yeah, empathy, and I'd like to add compassion too. Yeah, empathy sometimes brings more stress to ourselves because we can resonate with others' stress. But the compassion practice, because empathy is the beginning of compassion. Compassion can actually hold in a difficult situation. But thank you very much, Marcela. So anybody who'd like to share any experiences, if you did not find or if you did not feel anything with your hands on the body, that's okay too. This is really just the beginning of your practice. But it's really nice to hear what you notice, what you found during that practice. So these are informal practices that you can actually do on your own. We have recordings available, so you're welcome to, it's of course a free recordings you can use to continue practicing on your own. Katia, it was amazing. I felt good. Thank you very much for sharing. And you're welcome to add other comments, but I'd like to show my last piece of, let's see, uh, PowerPoint slide. Let's see. So I just want to review the self-compassion versus self-stress response. Fight, flight, freeze, as many of you know this. The defense, the threat defense system, the stress response when we are in danger. So according to, and I'm gonna come back to the comments. Thank you. I see some people adding comments. Thank you very much. I'm gonna share the PowerPoint and then I'll come back to the comments, but thank you. So according to Paul Gilbert, he's in England, he's a British psychologist. He offers the compassion focused therapy. When we criticize ourselves, we are tapping in to the body's threat defense system, the reptilian brain, the fight, flight, freeze. So this system works really well for protecting against threat to our bodily selves. However, the threats we experience are to our self-concept. When when we judge ourselves. So whenever we feel inadequate, our self-concept is threatened. So we attack the problem ourselves. The threat response causes stress, more stress, right? And is related to conditions like anxiety and depression. But luckily, we are not just reptiles, but are also mammals. We have the caregiver system. The mammalian caregiving system evolved so that the infant would keep safe by staying close to the mother. And the system is triggered by three main factors: the touch, the warm touch, the soothing touch, and kind gaze, looking into the person, the loved one, and then the gentle vocalization. So you can imagine you're holding your child, or maybe you're holding your loved one when they are going through a very difficult time. You're there, you're giving the warmth, kind gaze. You might say, "Oh, that's okay. I'm sorry this is happening to you." Gentle vocalization. These three components trigger the mammalian caregiving system. So what we can do is with the self-compassion response, we can change the self-criticism to self-kindness. We can change the feeling of isolation to common humanity. Rumination, over-identification to mindfulness. So the practice that we just did, the soothing touch, the supportive touch, and the self-compassion break covers all these components. And I hope that you had a kind of taste of that, kind of, okay, this might help a little bit. Yeah. And I'm gonna come back to the comments. Let's see. I hope I'm not gonna miss anything. Okay, Juanito, no one can give what one doesn't have. If I can be compassionate to others, I can surely be also compassionate to myself by simply focusing on my hands. Wow, that's liberating. Oh, thank you so much, Juanito. Irene, yes, I would love to have the recording. Oh, yes, yeah, we have the recordings available. I'll share the links. Michelle, this exercise was helpful because I learned for the first time cupping my hands together and putting them under my chin as if someone was holding my face in their hand was very soothing. Yeah, some people express that, the mothers, do this, used to do this. And we can actually do this, for ourselves. Yeah, cupping our hands. Helen, I know many people who are afraid of becoming more vulnerable by being kinder to themselves. How can we decrease this reaction? Marcela, I would like to have the recordings too. Yes. So Helen, I think that's a question. Yeah. So yes. So I know many people who are afraid of becoming more vulnerable by being kinder to themselves. Yes. So that's why we need courage. We need the support for ourselves, however we can. The first practice would be to really noticing the hands, the warmth, the gesture that you can offer to yourself. Because when you notice that you are being vulnerable and you feel unsafe, you can offer that gesture to yourself. That's the compassion practice. Or you can actually recognize, oh, I feel unsafe right now. I'm gonna focus on my breath and just feel the breath to lead myself to a balanced state of awareness. Taking a few long deep breaths activates the what's the I forget the word, parasympathetic nervous system that leads us to rest and digest. So the first thing we can do is to be aware, what we are experiencing. If you are feeling unsafe, we can offer a moment of mindfulness or self-compassion, which I just shared today. That's really the first step. I hope I answered your question. So we have 10 minutes, and I'm noticing there are a few questions. Listening ears can be something very important for myself when I do not want to add on to other people's burden. I found letting in out in prayers is very helpful. Yes. So there's a practice of loving kindness meditation, which I was not able to share. Loving kindness meditation, some of you may know this, we use words, language, to focus our attention to the words. So yes, the prayer would help. Yeah, if that's helpful to you. Sally, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Any questions? Let's see. Ronnie, good news, all sessions. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ronnie. Any questions? Any comments?
Hi, Miss Noriko. There's actually one question on Hua, and they said, will I become more unmotivated by being so easy on myself? I guess that's one of the questions.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So you actually have a whole talk about misgivings, doubts about self-compassion. I felt the same way. I was like, that sounds very nice. That sounds very nice, but I was kind of pushing myself because I wanted to do a good job. I wanted to motivate myself to achieve something, right? And I was a little afraid that I might lose that motivation. Yeah, so thank you for that question. So yeah, most of us might believe that self-criticism is an effective motivator, but it actually undermines self-confidence and leads to fear of failure. Yeah. So motivation with self-compassion comes from the desire for health and well-being. It provides a safety, emotional support, safety needed for change. So with the self-compassion, we're not afraid of failing, making mistakes. And we can actually continue motivating ourselves with the support that we need. So it could be maybe helpful to imagine, that if you have a very how can I say, like a mentor or a coach, or even your therapist, counselor, who's so kind and compassionate. That quality, they're not undermining, right? They're not really undermining your ability or confidence, but they're actually pushing you in a different way. They want to support you. So, excuse me. There's actually a research about this. Research shows that self-compassionate people are no less likely to have high personal standards. They just don't beat themselves up when they fail because they're not afraid of failure. Yeah, this means that they are less afraid of failure and are more likely to try again and to persist in their efforts after failing. And this is actually really speaks to me too. I I I I never felt I lost my motivation to do a good job, but I actually feel safe enough to make a mistake because I can trust myself that I can try it again. So I hope I answered your question, Anita. And I see other comments.
Oh, and here's another question for you, Ms. Noriko.
Sure.
They said that it's hard for them to physically still themselves, but they're wondering if there are any alternatives to observing and letting go of their inner criticisms.
Yeah, inner criticism, there must be a thoughts, right? There must be like words coming up. Those are thoughts. Thoughts are thoughts. Thoughts are not you. We often think it's you, yourself. We often think ourselves. But thoughts come up for some reason, some conditions that we've been in, some experiences that we have had. They just come up. So self-criticism, if you can think about it, and I try this too, there might be some motivation behind that inner critic. And I took it as that I didn't want to make the same mistake. The self-criticism, inner critic was trying to protect myself, actually. But in a harsh way, it wasn't really helping because it made me feel worse. So if we can recognize the inner critic as thoughts or the voices in our head as they are, and also recognize that it's really actually trying to help, but it's not helping. So I'm gonna just leave it there and I'm gonna focus on myself, and maybe the compassionate voice might arise. We all have the compassionate voice underneath, maybe hidden behind the inner critic. We just have to make space for it because inner critic could be very strong. And it was really that case for me too. I hope, is that okay? Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I think we are close cutting to time,
Yes.
but is there anything else Ms. Noriko would like to say?
No, and I can send the links to you, Helen, so maybe you can share the recordings. I think you might have, because I think I
Yes,
sent that over.
this recording will be offered to the everyone who attended, as well as for future people who would like to come back. Thank you so much for Ms. Noriko for her teachings today in MSc. I believe given during the current pandemic, as well as just various other social factors, the importance of MSc for oneself is very evident for better mental health and well-being and stability. Hopefully everyone today was able to integrate these practices such as mindful body scans and introspective acceptance and compassionate touch into their daily routine. This then concludes the end of the first workshop for today. For those interested, there will also be another workshop session in the afternoon held by the wonderful Tom Hia from 2 to 4 MST, who will be teaching and introducing the 8-week MBCT program. Thank you so much for everyone who attended, and especially to Ms. Noriko Harth. We'll hopefully see you everyone in the afternoon, but mainly focusing on tomorrow for the official conference. And if you still can't get enough, there will be also workshops held on Friday as well. Thank you to everyone who attended. If you would like any more information, please visit the TIES website as well as Alberta Mind Biotech at www.albertamind.com. Hopefully everyone had a great time. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.